Welcome back, everybody. Browns and Lions ready to go here tonight. Today's Cleveland Browns injury report brought to you by Cleveland Clinic. For a same-day appointment, call 855-411-DAWG. Montario Hardesty had surgery, Bernie, successful. Went as expected. Too bad for him. I mean, that is really a tough story. That kid has never been able to be healthy since he came to the Browns out of the University of Tennessee, and he had problems at Tennessee too.
Well, first and foremost, you're exactly right. It's tough to have that type of surgery anyways at this time of the year. For somebody like himself who was injury prone in college, had the knee issues, had multiple surgeries while there, actually caused somewhat of a little bit of surprise trading up to get him when we did in the second round. To see him now still have knee surgery and knee issues on top of, you know, the thumb issue and the hand issue that he also has.
Absolutely. Rob Chudzinski on the sideline. Game 2 for him. He wants continued improvement. But boy, he ran a smooth sideline last Thursday night in the game against the Rams. Remember, as a position coach and as a coordinator, he normally called the games from upstairs in the press box. When it's down on the sideline and you're on the sideline, it's very, very different. Jim Schwartz on the other sideline. Bernie, do you remember Jim Schwartz when he was with the Browns? He was one of those Bill Belichick guys that was only making about $10,000 a year and getting coupons to break down film.
You know, if you take a look at that picture of the coaches, the front office, the scouts, from that 92, 93, 94 staffs that Coach Belichick had, it's a pretty impressive list of who's who. And Coach Schwartz has done a remarkable job of progressing through the ranks now to obviously become a head coach. If you go back and find some of those old pictures, though, I don't think he's one of those that wants to keep some of those old pictures there. Only his mother would like that.
Brandon Bogatay will kick it off. He'll do all the kicking. Michael Spurlock is back deep, and Bogatay sends it right out of the ballpark, and it hits off the back wall behind the end zone, and the Lions will come out after a touchback, and it will be 1st and 10 for Detroit with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and they'll start at their own 20. Boy, do they throw the ball as well as anybody, and he's the trigger guy.
Yeah, Scott Linehan's the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. They have a fantastic vertical passing game. Matthew Stafford's arm and talent level's really been impressive. He's had some injury issues throughout his career, but when he's healthy, he throws the ball as good as anybody within this system too that takes advantage of the downfield throws.
Calvin Johnson not playing tonight, just kept out of the game, no injury there. And he, of course, is the best receiver in football. One back in the backfield from their own 20 on 1st and 10. Here's Stafford, and they're going to run an end around as they give it off on the right side to Patrick Edwards, and he'll lose 3. Tashawn Gibson is up from a safety spot with DeQuell Jackson, and they make the play. Patrick Edwards, a speedy receiver out of Houston. The Lions starting lineup on offense brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. How about Reggie Bush now with the Lions?
Yeah, I got a good chance to watch Reggie Bush the last few years down in South Florida. His speed and athleticism could add another option here to this Detroit.
2nd and 12, ball is back at the 18-yard line. Shotgun, Stafford delivers, and it is juggled off the hands of Brandon Pettigrew, and it curled over the shoulder pad of DeQuell Jackson. Incomplete. Pettigrew, normally a sure-handed tight end out of Oklahoma State. The Browns starting lineup on defense brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure. Liberty makes it happen. They're in the 3-4. They looked very comfortable in it last week.
Yeah, a lot of base defenses out of both teams actually last week. The Browns did something different on 1st down tonight, came out in man press coverage. Didn't do as much of that on early downs last week.
3rd down and 12, 4 receivers, 2 to each side. Reggie Bush is in one of the slots at the bottom of your screen. Stafford on 3rd down loops the ball. It's caught by Reggie Bush, and he's immediately tackled by Craig Robertson out of the 24-yard line. He gets 5, but they need to punt. That's a good starting defensive sequence for the Browns. And in to punt it away will be Sammy Martin, a rookie, coming in to punt.
Browns playing a base 2-deep zone coverage there. Matthew Stafford saw the DN flash in front of him, threw the ball a little earlier than he wanted to.
Sammy Martin, the rookie, a sidewinder. And it comes down. Travis Benjamin caught it at the 37. To the 40. He spins out of the tackle into the Browns bench over the 45-yard line as he got knocked out there. It was a 40-yard wobbling punt by Martin, who was known to be a booming punter. They drafted him in the 5th round. There's a flag down on the play. Wayne Mackey is our referee tonight, wearing the white hat. So we'll pick up the call. The Browns would have terrific field position starting out, as they're going to put the ball out over the 45-yard line near the 46. But again, the flag was thrown behind Benjamin as he was receiving the punt. So the official still talking it over. And here comes referee Mackey.
Personal foul. Kicking, receiving team. Number 22.
Buster Screen.
The receiver out of bounds, one out of bounds, and blocked him again. The ball will be placed 15 yards from the end of the kick. First down, Cleveland.
So that good field position, well, it just went away, and it goes now back inside the 25 to the 23. So Buster Screen commits the penalty, blocked him out of bounds, then he blocked him out of bounds again. Brandon Whedon will get the start at quarterback, 10 for 13 last week, and a touchdown. Trent Richardson in the backfield. First action for him. In motion, tight end Gary Barnidge.
Press coverage outside.
Here's Whedon down the middle, throws, and Greg Little dropped the ball out over the 42-yard line. There's a flag down in the secondary. So we didn't have a lot of flags at all last week, and we have 2 quick ones here tonight. Let's pick up the call again.
Prior to the pass, defense, number 31, illegal contact, 5 yards, automatic first down.
All right, Ron Bartell, the cornerback, ends up with the penalty. Let's see if we can pick it up here, Bernie.
Yeah, this is that press coverage. This is the stuff we talk a lot about in the offseason. This is that skinny post, deep in route at about 18 to 20 yards that North Turner's been famous for. Troy Aikman, the Michael Irvin type throws back when I was playing with him. That's the stuff I think Brandon Whedon's going to be very good at throwing down the field.
Richardson off the right side goes over the 30-yard line to the 32, and he picks up 4. It will be second down at 6. The Browns starting lineup on offense brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure, and Liberty makes it happen. All right, there's the first touch by Trent Richardson. Everything was loaded up left, and they got a little crease on the right side, and he ended up slipping there, out for 4 yards, out to the 32-yard line. Second down and 6 for the Browns. Opening possession, no score. Detroit went 3 and out on their first possession as you look into the eyes of Brandon Whedon. 2 backs join him in the shotgun, Obanaya and Richardson. Here's Whedon throwing down the far right sideline. Gordon's out there and almost made a one-handed catch down at the Lion 32-yard line.
There's the press coverage that I've been talking about the last couple games. Taking advantage of it. I like to see the aggressiveness down the field like that. There's just an old-fashioned fade throw versus bump coverage.
So now it is third down and 6. Chris Houston was on the coverage for Detroit. Line of scrimmage is the Cleveland 32-yard line. Here's Houston, the cornerback, and he's their main guy now in their secondary, at least at corner. Shotgun with Betts in motion. Here's Whedon. They need 6. He's going to get hit. He's going to dump it off, and it's at the feet and wide of Trent Richardson. Nick Fairley got in there, the big defensive lineman out of Auburn, and he is slapping high fives with Ndamukong Suh, and that's what they have. Great pressure, Bernie.
Yeah, just a base zone defense, only rushing 4, but a fantastic front 4 for the Detroit Lions, and just with that type pressure, you see him collapse, cave in the pocket there.
Spencer Lanning is in to punt. TJ Conley will not punt tonight. He's got a bit of a groin pull, so he is out. Patrick Edwards is back deep. Lanning's punt, and a fair catch called for and made up on his numbers by Edwards, just a little bit over the 20, near the 21-yard line. That's a 47-yard punt, a pretty good one on the first one for Lanning tonight. 12 and a half left to go. First quarter here at First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns. No score. Tonight's game being broadcast all over the state of Ohio, in Columbus on WBNS, in Youngstown on WYTV, in Dayton on WHIO, and right here in the Cleveland area on WKYC Channel 3, your official station of the Cleveland Browns. Second series now for the Lions, no score. Reggie Bush is the running back for Matthew Stafford. They start at their own 21-yard line. That's big Mike Williams, a rookie from Alabama, in a tight end in motion. Here's Reggie Bush up to the 22, and not much there. The Browns stack the wall there, and they tie the play up. In on the tackle, Desmond Bryant gets in there. Phil Taylor is in there, along with Paul Kruger, as they shut him down for a yard, and it's 2nd and 9.
Good job by the front there. Not allowing the Detroit to have any seams at the point of attack and in the cutback.
2nd down and long. Reggie Bush remains the running back for Stafford. 2 to the top of your screen as far as receivers, and then Patrick Edwards by himself down at the bottom. And again they run. Bush tied up nicely as the Browns cut in, and Jabal Sheard got at the bottom of his ankles and knocked him down at the 24-yard line. And it will be 3rd down and long coming up for the Lions. Boy, I thought all they were going to do is throw, and they've come out running.
Yeah, both teams tonight on defense have come out playing the man press coverage, kind of daring both offenses to throw the ball down the field, throwing those fades. I think it's with Matthew Stafford. If this is a regular season game and Calvin Johnson,
yes,
your main weapon was there with that press coverage, he wouldn't be able to help himself and be able to throw the ball down the field. You're going to have press coverage again outside.
3rd down and 7. Royals in motion. Browns are blitzing. Here's the throw across the middle, and Joe Hayden broke it up from Nate Burleson at the 35-yard line. And that's why Joe Hayden is really about ready to arrive as one of the elite corners in the league.
Again, this is the press coverage outside. Matthew Stafford goes right to the man coverage. Shows you what a beautiful arm he has firing the ball. Not coming out of the break good, and Joe Hayden's right there to knock it away.
Sammy Martin will punt. Travis Benjamin will return. And again, a wobbler is going to hit at the 35-yard line, bounce across the field, and the Browns will have it near their 27.5-yard line for their second possession. 48-yard punt. He got most of it on roll, didn't he? 11:03 left to go. First quarter here in downtown Cleveland tonight. Brandon Whedon's up next. Let's head right down to the Browns sideline with Dave Chudowski. His sideline report brought to you by Jeep. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Jim, thanks. As we all know, Coach Chud is a fan of the Browns first before becoming the head coach. And boy, he really treated the fans well during training camp. This past Sunday, at the end of practice, he brought 2 fans out to kick field goals. One for the offense, one for the defense. If they made it, meetings canceled that night. They both made it, meetings canceled. The players went home. Jim, back to you.
He was actually a little concerned about that because I think he wanted at least one of the units to have a meeting, and both didn't because they made the kick. Richardson, the running back. No score. Lions almost jump. Here's Whedon on a long count. Richardson running, cut back, and not much. Maybe a yard to the 28-yard line. In fact, no gain, and it will be 2nd down and 10. Here's a look at the Detroit starting defense, and it's a good one up front, and it's brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And Ndamukong Suh and those guys up front, they're the real deal. At linebacker, they worry that they only have ordinary linebackers. And in the secondary, they've tried to do some good stuff. Glover Quinn was their big signing in the offseason, safety from the Houston Texans. Richardson to the bottom of your screen, out wide, so Whedon's by himself. 2nd and 10. Blocking holds up well. Gordon catches a cutback and a run and a first down. Over the 40-yard line, into the Browns sideline. At the 43, he got 15. He took a step back after he caught the ball, Bernie, to get a quick path.
You can really see that speed and athleticism of Josh Gordon. He threw the fade to him on the first series. I don't particularly like that kind of one-hand effort going for it, but you can see the type of movement that he has. He catches the ball there, has just the presence to actually go backwards, like you point out, and then still have the speed to turn the corner and make it a first down catch.
Greg Little in motion, a little toss sweep. Here comes Richardson to the boundary, turns the corner 45, he's to the 50, and he got drilled into the bench, hit by Ndamukong Suh, but Richardson blasts away down to the Lion 49-yard line. Okay, I think he's ready for the regular season.
You know, we didn't see much outside runs last week, and Detroit plays that wide 9 technique where their defensive ends are actually extremely wide.
Wow.
Ndamukong Suh, look at that athleticism to get to the sideline. A little late, but that's That's nice to see.
Second down and 2. Marisic into the game at fullback in front of Richardson. They go right back to Trent. A cut left, a cut right, and he tries to get the first down, and he might be just a couple of inches short of it, near the 47-yard line of the Lions.
You know, again, it's nice to see Trent Richardson make an outside run like that, use that speed and athleticism to get out there. Takes a hit, gets up, able to run the ball in the next play too, and still has that bounce in his step.
All right, he got the first down, and he'll also get a breather on the sideline right now as he cozies up to running back coach John Settle. Into the game at running back now is the very exciting tiny running back Dion Lewis. Brandon Whedon's got a 1st and 10 now at the Detroit 47-yard line. And he's got time, and he's got a screen, and he missed his man out too far out in front of the left hand of Lewis out in the flat as it got very crowded in that backfield. As blowing in there once again was Nick Fairley as he got in there.
Yeah, actually a base cover too, where you have the corners rotated up in the flats. You don't particularly want to throw the swing pass there. Wasn't, but the pressure coming from the defensive line put the pressure on Brandon to make a quick decision, and the routes hadn't developed down the field, so he went down to his check down.
Second down and 10 into the game, and lining up wide at a defensive end spot for the Lions is the phenom Ziggy Ansah. The rookie from BYU, and the Browns could not get lined up right. They didn't have Jordan Cameron lined up the right way, so they're forced to call a timeout. That did not happen at all last week, but it happens on their second drive tonight. 9:07 left to go in the first quarter, and the Lions and Browns are at 0-0. Coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything with Lear and Benke tires that go the distance inspires when we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Boy, a more perfect night you could not have. Game 2 of the preseason, and the Browns, after calling a timeout, unable to get a play lined up correctly. They use the timeout, and they have it 2nd and 10, and they're at the Detroit 47-yard line. Richardson back into the game. Obanai in front of him as a fullback.
Yeah, that press coverage outside again.
Here's Richardson, and he runs to the outside and through a hole. To the 40, to the spin, to the 35. What a run! All the way down to the 31-yard line of the Lions. Ziggy Ansah chases him down the field, but he got 17 yards.
Yeah, look at the guy lineman down.
Jason Pinkston is down, and the Browns are running out of guards, Bernie.
Yeah, he looks like he's in obvious pain here. This was a fantastic run by Trent Richardson. Patience in the hole, nothing up the middle. He bounces it outside and shows that speed and athleticism.
There's Richardson, but we're more concerned right now back near midfield at the player face down, and it is the right guard, Jason Pinkston. So we'll check on him. We'll take a timeout. 8:51 to go, first quarter, and no score. There's Jason Pinkston. It's either his right knee or his right ankle. He wasn't able to put any weight on it at the start of the walk to the bench. Here's the play, and it looks like, Bernie, Nick Fairley blows up John Greco, and when he goes down then, Pinkston gets blocked back, and his right, either his knee or his ankle, becomes twisted up in the pile. So he is out and on the sideline, and he's fought hard to get back. He had the blood clot in his lung last year, and he's in pain and very disappointed. 1st and 10. Garrett Gilkey, a rookie from Chadron State, is in there. Here's Whedon setting up a screen for Obanaya. He's got it. It's not blocked, and it's blown up. Back at the 31-yard line, it's going to be a loss of 1 on the play. Nick Fairley and DeAndre Levy, the linebacker from Wisconsin, are out there to make the play.
Yeah, the Detroit defensive line's been getting excellent pressure. You can see North Turner, I think, wanting to kind of slow it down by trying to get a screenplay in there. Unfortunately, Detroit's athleticism is very evident with this front four, and these guys read the screen and were able to get themselves out into the lanes.
2nd down, 11. Richardson back in the game. He's had a very, very good 2 series. There's a blitz coming, and Richardson runs. He runs left, and he's inside the 30, and he gets bent back in the play. And Ndamukong Suh, Ziggy Ansah are in on the tackle, along with Stephen Tulloch, and he makes a 2-yard gain, and it will be 3rd down coming up now for the Browns. 3rd and 8.
Tough situation right there. Brandon Whedon, I think, saw the blitz to the top of your screen to his right. Running the ball left, running away from that, but the pursuit angles, and again, the Detroit defensive line is showing how big and stout they are. Browns are having trouble pushing them back.
Devon Best in motion. Here's Whedon on 3rd and long. Dumps it to Lewis. He cuts back after he makes the catch, but will not get the first down as he's dropped at the 25-yard line. DeAndre Levy chases it down. The linebacker makes the play. And also,
This is actually a very nice job by Brandon Wheaton. Typically on 3rd and 10, I don't like seeing quarterbacks throw the ball underneath. But in special situations, when you're in field goal range, field goal opportunity, imperative that you have a positive play, an essential commandment. Do not take a sack and knock yourself farther back or out of field goal range.
43-yard attempt for Bogate, who was 1 for 2 last week. As he kicks tonight, end over end, that kick is up, and the kick is good from 43 yards away. Brandon Bogate puts the Browns on the board. 6:31 to go in the first quarter, and the Browns score first. They lead the Lions 3-0. The Browns lead thanks to a Brandon Bogate field goal, and they lead 3-0. And a look at the scoring drive brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure, and Liberty makes it happen. Trent Richardson with a couple of nice runs, a big 17-yard run that really got them down into field goal range, and then they stalled, but then Bogate made the field goal, Bernie. But they lost starting guard Jason Pinkston during the drive with a right leg, either a knee or an ankle, and they are ready to take him underneath the tunnel and into the Browns locker room for some x-rays. Michael Spurlock is back deep for the Lions as Bogate runs up. Now he kicked the last one, the opening one of the game, and he kicked it out of the end zone, and he kicks this one off the crossbar and through the upright, and it will be a touchback, and the Lions will have it 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line, and Matthew Stafford remains in the game. There's Chris Tabor, Browns special teams coordinator, patting Bogate on the back. It's his night tonight. Stafford so far has not had really anything in the way of a big play. He's been kind of dumping it off underneath. He does not have Calvin Johnson in there, but the Browns have done a very good job in defending against the Lion offense, which is high octane. Reggie Bush leaves the backfield and goes to a slot at the top of your screen. From their own 20-yard line, Stafford in the backfield by himself.
Little miscommunication, I think, in the Browns secondary here.
Here's Stafford on 1st down. He throws and the ball got knocked down. Phil Taylor got it right in his belly as he jumps up at the 17-yard line and knocks it down.
Very, very fortunate right there.
What happened in the secondary?
Secondary, when Reggie Bush went to split out into the slot there and really create a 3-receiver looking set, the safeties didn't know which way to rotate. Nobody went to the middle of the field. Very surprised a guy like Matthew Stafford didn't take advantage of that, not having anybody in the deep middle of the field.
2nd down and 10. Reggie Bush still in the backfield with him. Stafford from his own 20. Throwing it right on the line of scrimmage. Patrick Edwards is there, but so is Joe Hayden. After Edwards made the catch, Joe Hayden, one of the real sure tacklers at a cornerback position, brings him down at the 23.5-yard line. Injury report right now for Jason Pinkston. Right ankle, and he will not return. And remember, the Browns lost their other starting guard, Sean Laval, who had ankle surgery about a week ago.
You don't like to see anybody get hurt. Getting rolled up on the back of your leg, ankle, like Jason Pinkston happened just then. Also coupled with the Sean Laval injury and surgery. A position that was supposed to be of depth right now, guards on the offensive line, now is actually getting pretty thin.
Well, there was great pressure, and Stafford completes it, but short of the first down at the 26-yard line. As the catch was made by Patrick Edwards, but he just got nailed as the Browns were in on Stafford, and he had to unload that ball before he really wanted to, as Phil Taylor broke through again.
Yeah, good pressure by Phil Taylor. Again, some miscommunication looks like in the secondary. The middle of the field of the Browns defense was open again. To see Matthew Stafford being frustrated there. He's had the middle of the field open, but hasn't had time to throw it.
Benjamin took a short punt by Sammy Martin, who has not had a good night punting the ball for the Lions, and he was a real ballyhoo talent coming out of the 5th round that they drafted him, and Benjamin runs it right into the Lion bench, but the Browns are going to end up with very good field position. So with 5:09 left to go, here comes Brandon Whedon in the first quarter, and I'd like to see the Browns get a little bit more rhythm in their offense.
Well, the running game, I think, and trying to get Trent Richardson active and getting him some reps and some touches here, I think was something Coach Chud wanted to get going in this game, since Trent hasn't played much this year. But
it looks like he's done right now.
I think we're going to start seeing the press coverage outside.
Here's Wheaton with a pump fake. Now he's got nowhere to go, so he's going to roll out. Still looking and firing, and the safe place to throw it is into the Browns bench. And they hit the quarterback. How about that? Is it Ndamukong Suh? Joe Thomas goes right up to him, and in his face, so did Alex Mack. And it looks like Suh.
Defense, number 9.
And it is.
Roughing the passer. Automatic first down.
Well, I mean, he's been known for this, right? I remember he did it in a preseason game, Bernie, that we were doing up at Ford Field, and he did it to Jake Delhomme.
Yeah, and Ndamukong Suh's hit late on the edge throughout his career. It actually could have been called on the Trent Richardson hit on the sideline. As much as I like to see the penalty for us to get to 15 yards, that wasn't that big a hit. That was just a little push.
First down at the 40. They're going to blitz Willie Young, and they blitz him right into the legs of Dion Lewis, and he'll lose yardage to the 42-yard line. So they're going to lose a couple, and it will be second down and long. You see 79 just come, and he anticipated the snap and blew off the corner, and he was right in the backfield, so Lewis had nowhere to go. Second down and 12, the Browns have it. They lead 3-0, and the ball sits at the 42.5-yard line of Detroit. Lewis will be the running back.
You've heard me talk a lot about the press coverage that I like to see from the outside. Detroit's doing a lot of it. Right now you see the linebacker matched up on the running back and be able to throw it deep.
Wheaton to Gordon. Oh, he's got it! A great catch with a flag down. He's got it inside the 10 at the 8-yard line. It will be first and goal if it stands. A 34-yard pass play.
Like we've been talking about, you're getting press coverage. Brandon Whedon's been able to pre-read this like we are up here in the booth. It's just pretty to see those type of throws.
Pass interference. Defense, number 31. That penalty is declined. First down.
Oh, this is pretty. He just drops it in the bucket, doesn't he? Right over the shoulder. The pass interference was called on Ron Bartell, and it's first and goal. The Browns have it at the Lion 8-yard line. Lewis, the lone runner in the backfield. On first and goal, Whedon's got the Lions front jumping. This is Dion Lewis, and there's nothing there but linebacker DeAndre Levy, and the Browns will lose 2 back to the 10.
You hear me talk quite a bit about these press coverages, throwing the fades. That's the textbook way against that coverage, against that technique, to throw the fade. 3 yards from the boundary, let them run underneath it like that, as Jim astutely points out, dropping it in the bucket. Those are the type of things that are core principles of this passing game, this vertical passing game that we've all wanted to see.
Second and goal at the 10. Wheaton looking left, goes to the middle. Cameron's got it! Touchdown! Jordan Cameron! A 10-yard touchdown pass.
Fantastic timing. Last week we talked about Sam Bradford making a nice throw, throwing it high into the end zone on purpose. Same principle right here. There's man coverage coming across. Throw the ball high.
Where only he can catch it, right?
Where only he can catch it.
It is so important that the he that we're talking about, Jordan Cameron, really shows through in this offense, because the Browns and the Norv Turner offense, they love the tight end, and they want the tight end to be a playmaker, and he just made a beauty. So here's Bogatay in for the extra point. Lanning, the punter tonight, will hold. Christian Young is the long snapper. Bogatay's ready. And he punches it through, and with 3:22 left to go in the first quarter, the Browns go down the field, and Whedon strikes with a 10-yard touchdown pass to Jordan Cameron. Well done, and they now lead 10-0.
You know, Jim, you point out how the tight end is such an integral part of Coach Chud Norv Turner's system. Also, another core principle is these F seams, Y seams, H seams, depending on your position in the slot. But the throwing and catching of that, the timing that is imperative that you have on those type of throws, is something that goes back to the core principles of this offense. And Brandon Wheaton being able to not only make that throw like that, but to make that throw on time with that level of accuracy is very impressive.
Here's a look at the scoring drive brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure, and Liberty makes it happen. 4 plays, 55 yards. In a minute 42, and Jordan Cameron, a 10-yard touchdown reception. Wheaton is now 5 for 8 for 62 yards and a touchdown. Back deep will be Michael Spurlock as we're ready to kick it off again. Bogate sends this one 9 yards deep in the end zone, and Spurlock's going to bring it out as he's trying to make the team as their kick returner, and he got pounded over the 15 at the 16-yard line. James Michael Jackson and L.J. Ford are down there to make the tackle for the Browns. Wow, a punishing hit. This is the only way they think Spurlock makes the team. We remember him on opening day a few years back. He was a wide receiver at that time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a well-traveled guy. And there's L.J. Ford, one of those young linebackers that came on last year and ended up starting for the Browns at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Ford and Johnson are definitely fantastic special team players. Coach Chudd was talking about it, and Coach Horton, about it's imperative they get more instinctive in their positions of being able to play inside linebacker.
Oh, they got Reggie Bush out in the corner and on the flat. And Tashawn Gibson finally knocks him into the Browns sideline, but not before he got up to the 35-yard line. That's a 17-yard gain, and that's what he can give to their offense. I mean, he can really catch the ball and go with it. Yeah. He did it in New Orleans.
A couple years ago, they drafted Best out of California to be that kind of scat back, fast back. He's had concussion problems and injury problems. Bringing Reggie Bush in, that's a glorified sweep play, but you see the speed that he has if he's able to turn the corner like that.
1st and 10 now from their own 35-yard line. They give it to Bush, started left, cuts back, no room. Sheard's got him. At the 35, maybe they'll give him the 36-yard line. Jabal Sheard not only held the edge, but then he got off the edge and shot through and made the play. Boy, he's playing well. He's doing well, isn't he, as an outside linebacker? Remember, he was a defensive end for his first couple of years in the NFL, but he's got to learn now how to be an outside linebacker. Look at this play. Boom, he blows up Riley Reef, their left tackle.
Not to disagree with you, Jim, but I think he could use a better word than well. I think he's done fantastic making the switch. He's actually being able to dominate the point of attack while still maintaining his pass rush skills.
2nd down and 9. They fake the reverse, and they throw the ball. It's almost picked off by Kruger. Stafford, and then Reggie Bush comes up and whacks DeQuell Jackson from behind, and he'll get a flag thrown on him.
I think this surprised Kruger here. This is not obviously what Matthew Stafford has in mind. Throws it right into his chest.
I think this is going to be on Reggie Bush as he nailed DeQuell Jackson from behind. Obviously, he felt that Jackson hit him out in the flat.
Personal foul. Dead ball foul. Offense. Number 21.
It is.
Late hit. 15-yard penalty. Half the distance to the goal.
And they're going to go way back. Well, you know what I'm seeing right now, despite the penalties, the Browns defense is really dominating this Detroit offense.
They're taking advantage of them right out front. Actually, the same thing that the Detroit Lions are known for, the stout front four, the stout pressure that they put on the offensive line of the opposing team. Right now, Cleveland's giving them a dose of their own medicine. I know Matthew Stafford's glad this is a preseason game because he must have misinterpreted where the running back was on that screenplay.
All right, the ball goes all the way back to the 21-yard line. They are 0 for 3 on 3rd down, and they are 3rd down in a country mile right now. 3rd and 24. Mikel LaShore is into the game at running back, but they're all out wide right now. Ryan Broyles in motion. Shotgun snap. Stafford back at his 10. Loads up. Throws underneath. That's caught. And the catch is made by Brandon Pettigrew, and a nice hit by Buster Screen. Knocks him down short of the 30-yard line, and the Lions will punt after a 7-yard gain. Good job by that Browns defense.
Yeah, I think Matthew Stafford's starting to get a little frustrated. You could see how he wanted to kind of load up there and release it down the field. He had takeoffs on both outside receivers and the slot receiver running deep down the middle. Browns defense had it taken away. He was forced to come to this check down.
Well, good job by that Browns defense, getting a lot of attaboys over on the Browns bench. Sammy Martin with a good high punt. This is his best effort. Benjamin goes back, watches the coverage, took it at the 16. There's a flag down. He's through a hole to the 20. He's to the 25-30. He's down the sideline to the 50. But remember, there's a flag down. He needs one block. Mingo's going to give it to him, and he's at the 5, and he's in again. But we'll check out the flag, and the Lions say it's coming back. It would have been, woulda, coulda, shoulda. It would have been an 84-yard punt return for a touchdown to match his 91-yarder last week. But it looks like it's coming back.
It's a shame, too.
Because it's on this side of the field
It was
below
a
us.
holding. Receiving team, number 23. By rule, that penalty will be enforced from the end of the kick. First down, Cleveland.
Yeah, it's a shame because the hold was so far away from the play. It wasn't even a factor in the punt return. You can see down the bottom of your screen here.
All right, there's the hold right there. Is that Joe Hayden? It is. Joe Hayden gets hit with the penalty. I couldn't make out the referee's mic. I think this is his first game as a referee. And I mean, here's what I think. There are two things. You got to learn how to be a referee. Then you got to learn how to be on the mic. Because you're on the mic a lot.
Considering how things went for me last week, I'm going to leave that alone. But the referee is struggling mightily tonight. That wasn't his first mistake here this evening.
He's struggling on the mic. All right, in the backfield, Dion Lewis will join Brandon Whedon. And look at their field position. They'll start inside their 10 at the 8-yard line.
Giving the man coverage outside again.
Whedon with a pump fake. He's going to go long. He's going long. Going to give Little a shot word. And he got popped into the Browns sideline. The Browns players are looking for a flag. He got hit by the safety, Don Carey, who was drafted by the Browns under the Eric Mancini regime, and then the Browns lost him in a waiver wire situation to Jacksonville. 32 right there is Don Carey.
Yeah, that actually, when we lost him on the waiver wire to Jacksonville, that brought up quite a stir because that wasn't the intention to lose a draft pick like that. He's still been playing in the league a few years. Actually gets beat there. Brandon Whedon wants him, when he does that pump, he wants to really pump to the other side of the field to get that safety going opposite the way he's going to throw, because you saw the safety go over the top and was able to make a play on Greg Little there.
Boy, nothing on the running game. Remember, the Browns offensive line is taxed here tonight. Brandon Jackson got his first carry of the night.
Yeah, last week I think we averaged 2.3 yards per rush attempt. Not the type of running game you want to have. It hasn't gotten much better this week.
Well, I got to tell you, now you got to worry about injuries to those guards. Laveau is healing from ankle surgery, and now Pinkston is hurt. So you've got John Greco, who had signed a new 5-year deal from Boardman, and he's in there at left guard.
Home of the Spartans, nice new 5-year deal.
Third down and long, 3rd and 11. Dion Lewis back in the game as Whedon on 3rd and 11 fires, and he's got Gordon over the middle out to the 31 and a first down. Don Carey makes the tackle. That's a beautiful throw.
That's not only a beautiful throw, fantastic timing. Look at how Brandon Whedon throws this ball before Gordon gets around the underneath coverage, anticipates where he's going to go on that square end, and throws it around the slot receiver or the slot defender, getting it in on time.
23 yards on the gain, and at the end of one quarter, as we head to the second, the Browns lead over the Detroit Lions here at First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns. It's the Browns 10 and the Lions nothing. Back, look at that sunset over Lake Erie, and then inside First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns. Jim Donovan, Bernie Kosar, Dave Chudowski, and the Browns lead 10-0 as they start the second quarter. 1st and 10. Chris Obanaya will be the running back for Brandon Whedon. Kellen Davis, a tight end in motion. Play action fake. Whedon with good time. He fires. He's got Cameron with a great catch up in the air. After he caught a touchdown pass in the first quarter, he even outdoes himself, and he goes up and reaches up and plucks it down to the Lion 42.
Well, That's a nice catch. I really think that's a great throw. Getting it above the defender like that. He really has, Brandon throws this 25 yards downfield, and the only spot it needed to be for him to make that catch, half a foot down, and that ball's gonna get deflected.
24-yard gain. Again, the tight end motions back into the backfield with Obadiah. On first down, Obadiah's got a hole on the left side, and inside the Lion 40, Willie Young will bring him down at the 38-yard line, a gain of 4, and it will make it 2nd down and 6. There's that rookie with the long red hair. 65 is his number. Garrett Gilkey is the young guard. Going to get a lot of playing time now with the injury to Pinkston tonight. There's a look statistically at what happened, and the Browns with a 10-0 lead, and statistically much better numbers than the Lions. Deion Lewis is into the game at tailback.
Detroit is still daring us to throw deep. A lot of press coverage, a lot of opportunity down the field.
Oh, nice block by Obadiah. He gets Lewis free. He's to the 15. He's down near the 5-yard line, and Don Carey took him out. It will be 1st and goal for the Browns. They say he went out at the 7.5.
Fantastic kick-out block by Obadiah.
It was. Beautiful block by Obadiah, who's learning how to be a fullback, Bernie.
Also, nice job by the left side of the line. Look at how they kick down and take the whole defensive line.
31-yard run down to the 7-yard line. 1st and goal for the Browns, leading 10-0. They're heading into the dog pound end. As you look at the speedy Deion Lewis, and he's still in the backfield as the lone back. Whedon. Lewis going to go wide and then cuts back and spins. And Glover Quinn makes the tackle near the 5-yard line. So give Lewis 2 down to the 5, and it will be 2nd down and goal.
Nice job getting 2 yards out of that. Not much there. Got to be careful though down on the goal line. He actually started going backwards out past the 10-yard line, and fortunately was able to find a crease to get back up in there. But the last thing you want to do when you get down this close is to kind of try to make too much out of nothing and end up losing a few yards.
So they go shotgun. Whedon with Lewis on his right hip. They bring Little in motion. 2nd and goal. Here's Whedon looking. He's got a man wide open. Touchdown. It is Cameron again.
Boy, Detroit's playing that man coverage inside the 5-yard line, being off like that, and Brandon Whedon's doing a fantastic job of finding the open guy, the mismatch, and Jordan Cameron with his size and athleticism.
Well, how is he that open, though? How is he that open, Bernie?
Yep, man. Again, man, when you play man coverage like that, and you're kind of get confused. I've been talking a little bit today from both teams. There's been some confusion in the secondary, and there's just blown a couple coverages.
It's a 5-yard touchdown pass, 2nd catch of the night in the end zone for Jordan Cameron, and he had 2 big plays on that drive as Bogate puts it through. And boy, there's a lot of pushing and shoving. Nick Fairley is in the middle of a mess with the Browns linemen as the teams head back up the field. 12:35 left to go in the first half, and the Browns lead 17-0. Here's a look at the scoring drive brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure. Liberty makes it happen as the Browns lead by a score of 17-0. And that man on the bench, Jordan Cameron, has had quite a night. He's had a 10-yard touchdown reception. He had a 24-yard reception on that play. A big run by Deion Lewis got them down inside the 10. And then Whedon to Cameron for his 2nd touchdown reception of the night. And the Browns lead 17-0. Down to the Browns sideline, brought to you by Jeep. Here's Dave Chudowski.
Jim, yes, thank you. Good news for one tight end, Jordan Cameron. Bad news for Gary Barnidge, their other tight end. He went through the tunnel, left the game with a shoulder injury. His return, questionable. Back to you.
It's a bouncing ball, and it's juggled, and it's picked up. Joyce Bell, the running back, has it at the 20. He's out to the 22, and he is dragged down at the 22-yard line.
You know, Gary Barnidge is... We talked about him last week. He came over from Carolina this offseason with Coach Chud. He's actually been probably the best run game blocking tight end that we've had, and I hope it's not serious with the shoulder.
Well, and that's been the trouble for him at Carolina, too. A lot of injuries. Brandon Jackson made a nice tackle on that kickoff return. In the backfield right now, Reggie Bush joins Matthew Stafford and then leaves the backfield and goes to a slot at the top of your screen from their own 23-yard line and down 17-0. Stafford still in there, throws. Pettigrew, the tight end, catches it, but DeQuell Jackson wraps him up immediately and brings him down at the 26-yard line. Pettigrew was a big draft choice for them coming out of Oklahoma State. He came the same year that Stafford came. Last year he had a lot of injuries and they thought he was out of shape. So he's given up eating hamburgers. And he's eating chicken and vegetables, just like you.
That's just like me. That
And he's
health
lost
and
a lot of
wellness.
weight.
You know, if they ran the play, that was the same play that they ran in the first series, second play of the game. Matthew Stafford's a little behind them. Had an incomplete pass, almost picked off. They come back to it to get a drive started.
Second down, Browns show blitz from the safety, and they throw the pass right out to the corner, and Chris Owens is right there and drills Patrick Edwards at the 30-yard line. Good to see Owens in there. He missed last week with a sore foot. He's vying to be the Browns' starting quarterback. He teams up with Gibson to make the hit.
Well, the little game of cat and mouse there, that actually was a running play by Detroit. Stafford thought that it was going to be a blitz. Gibson actually baited him into it. The eye contact, quick slant there, and Gibson's there to make a nice solid hit.
All right, what will the Browns do defensively? Third down at 3. Stafford shotgun. Reggie Bush on his left hip from their own 30-yard line.
Blitz on
they
the
got
bottom.
a blitz coming. Here's Stafford throwing. Caught. Pettigrew's got it. And a first down to the 37-yard line. Wrapped up again by the middle linebacker. And leader of the Browns defense, DeQuell Jackson. Paul Kruger and Atama Rubin are over there too, but it's a first down for the Lions.
Boy, look how calm Matthew Stafford is in the pocket there. Sees the blitz coming to the bottom of your screen, his left. Just calmly sets his feet. Knows he only needs a few yards and hits the nice, easy, quick out to the top of the screen.
First and 10 now from their own 36.5-yard line. Stafford, as the Browns move around a lot. Kruger moving around.
But he sees the blitz coming.
And a handoff. There is Jabal Sheard in the backfield to blast away at Reggie Bush and drop him for a loss inside the 35. A loss of 3.
You see Matthew Stafford taking his time at the line. He sees the blitz. Very surprised he stuck with it. That was an all-out blitz where you have all your receivers man covered across the board. As you guys have heard me say a lot over the years, and especially last week, I really struggle with running plays in the big blitzes like that when you see it coming like that. No chance of success.
Second down, 13. Jabal Sheard closes in on the corner. Patrick Edwards in motion. Here's Stafford out into the flat, caught by Reggie Bush. He avoids one tackle and then gets bumped into the Lions bench. 21 hits 21. I think Bush hit more of Chris Owens than Owens did of Bush, and it's a gain on the play of 7, and it will be third down at 5 over the 40 near the 42-yard line.
See Stafford here coming back. He sees Jabal Sheard going to be blitzing off the edge there. Replaces him with Reggie Bush getting to the outside quick like that, and he just uses his speed and athleticism to make a nice little 8-10-yard play.
Third down and 5. And Detroit down 17-0. They have it at their own 42-yard line. Stafford juggled the snap but hangs on. Pressure coming. He got hit. He threw it to Bush, who runs up near a first down and spins and gets the first down to midfield. As he got away from Joe Hayden and DeQuell Jackson. Jackson came back to make the play down the field along with safety Josh Aubrey. But it's a 9-yard pickup and a first down. They're in Browns territory near the 49.
Yeah, Joe Hayden and DeQuell Jackson want this back. They actually have the opportunity to tackle Reggie Bush right there, 1.5 yards, 2 yards before the first down marker. Reggie Bush does a real nice job showing his athletic ability, spin move, and getting an extra 5 yards to pick up the first down.
And this is the first time they're in Browns territory at the 49 with the safety blitz coming. They run Bush into a hole, and then he goes down to the Browns' 45-yard line, where he is tackled there. In on the hit for the Browns is Craig Robertson. Sean Gibson is there along with Jabal Sheard.
It's actually a nice job by Gibson there. It really wasn't blitzing. He just saw that he was disguising the cover 2 at the top of the screen. He sees the tight end blocked down. That's a run key, and he hits it. He hits it running to try to get into the run lanes.
Second down, 6. Empty backfield as Reggie Bush comes to the bottom of your screen out wide. from the 45 of the Browns. Stafford quick throw. Bush has got it, and then Chris Owens has got him with help on the play from linebacker Craig Robertson. And Reggie Bush on the catch is short of the first down. He's near the Browns 40. They'll need about 1.5 yards.
See Reggie Bush tapping his head.
He wants to come out.
He's ready to come out for a little breather. He's quickly adapted. It's nice watching him and Matthew Stafford here into this offense. The timing that he's already had coming from Miami. His first year here, second game with the Lions, and you could see a rapport between the two guys right now. You put Calvin Johnson in this offense. This could be a real dynamic offense. And
third down, 1.5 yards, and it's a play-action rollout. Here's Stafford looking, no one to go, looking, running, and he slides into the Browns bench away from DeQuell Jackson. And let's see where he went out of bounds and if he got the first down. I mean, he may be just a little bit short. And I think it is going to be fourth down. But they're down 17-0, and they'll probably go for it as Stafford scrambles out of there, Bernie.
yeah, not exactly what Coach Schwartz probably wants to see out of his franchise quarterback here in a preseason game.
It is fourth down and less than one. The ball is just inside the Browns 40 as Stafford looks like he's having trouble getting the play in, so much so that they'll call a timeout.
You know, fantastic job on the last play by DeQuell Jackson. Seems like a simple thing, but to be able to keep him short like that and use his speed to keep him from getting that first down.
Timeout. We'll be back. Fourth down for the Lions when we return. Watch the game from the best seats in the house, a new home theater from Wayside Furniture. And be sure to enter our Best Seats in the House contest with a grand prize of 8 Lowe's seats to a Browns game, plus 2 recliners or a sofa from Flexsteel. Wayside and Akron, better furniture, price lower. Jim Donovan, Bernie Kosar, Dave Chudowski. Fourth down, less than one. Browns lead 17-0. Lions are just inside the Browns 40.
Interesting formation here. They're still spread out. The Browns got obvious blitz, a lot of guys in the box here.
Here's Stafford. Options the ball out, and Reggie Bush is going to get it. And he gets clipped down by Buster Screen, but he got the first down. Little option play out to the near side, down to the Browns' 35-yard line, and a 5-yard gain. See, they can do a lot with Reggie Bush, don't you think?
Yeah, and they're showing all the versatility that he has.
I don't think he expected doing this much tonight, but they can do a lot with him.
I'm kind of chuckling at the option play. Wasn't much of an option. I think Matthew was going to get rid of that ball as quick as possible.
Javal Sheard is trying to get off the field. The Browns had too many men on the field. So it is first and 10 now. Detroit at the Cleveland 35-yard line. Reggie Bush trapped, gets away, and turns it into a couple of yard gain down to the 33-yard line, a 2-yard gain. Phil Taylor chased him into the hole. Also coming up there is Josh Aubrey and Craig Robertson. So it will be second down and 8 after a 2-yard gain.
You see Matthew Stafford again running the ball. I have a feeling this being a preseason game, this would be a little bit different in a regular season game. The Browns safeties have been up close to the line of scrimmage. They haven't really attempted much down the field.
Stafford saw the Browns safety come up and he backs off. That's Josh Aubrey coming up. And they're going to run the ball. Reggie Bush again. And Bush is trapped and driven down at the 30-yard line. And he'll only get a couple there. Taba Rubin is in there. Desmond Bryant, the pickup for the Browns from the Raiders in the offseason. There's a great player right there, 71, Taba Rubin. And he is just really, they say, the quiet leader of the Browns defensive line. The ball is at the 30, and it's 3rd and 5.
Rubin's first year, 6th-round pick, was actually Coach Chud's first stint here with the Cleveland Browns, and he was even mentioning in production meetings the other day the involvement of Rubin as not only a good player, but a team leader.
Nate Burleson in motion. Safety blitz coming. Here's Stafford throwing. Incomplete at the 24-yard line as Craig Robertson covers Nate Burleson of the Lions at the 24. And Detroit will have to settle for a field goal attempt by David Akers.
Boy, you see the blitz coming to the left. You can see Matthew Stafford's not really in sync tonight with this, and the importance of not having Johnson here, his primary weapon, his top guy. When you have a receiver of that magnitude, on the outside, you'd never even consider making a throw like that over the middle like that versus the blitz.
Akers from 48 yards. It has distance, and it is good, and the Lions are on the board. 4 minutes and 37 seconds left to go in the first half, and we'll take a timeout from First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns. The Browns leading over the Lions 17-3. Lead. Here's a look at the scoring drive brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure, and Liberty makes that happen. 14 plays, 47 yards, a 48-yard field goal by David Akers gets the Lions on the board. Down to the Browns sideline, brought to you by Jeep. Here's Dave Chudowski.
Jim, busy night for the Browns training staff. Barkevius Mingo has left the field with a rib injury. His return is questionable. So that's Pinkston, Barnage, and Mingo all leaving tonight's game. Back to you.
Boy, I got to tell you, I love going down today, but not tonight with all of those injury reports, huh? Sammy Martin putting the ball on the tee. Dion Lewis is deep. 4:37 to go in the half.
Yeah, Jim, you took the words right out of my mouth. As much as we like to go down and talk to Dave, that injury report, the team has a lot of youth there. I think we were the youngest team last year in the league, and we're still very young. To lose some of our key players that could be our playmakers, our difference makers, isn't what you want to have getting ready for the start of the season.
Boy, a terrific run back by Dion Lewis, and he's finally brought down. Jason Campbell is going to come in at quarterback when we come back to the stadium. 17-3, the Browns lead the Lions with 4.5 to go in the half. Now, we hit the road next week, and the Browns will be at Lucas Oil Stadium a week from Saturday night. They'll take on the Indianapolis Colts. Pre-game show starts at 6, kickoff at 7. Browns and Colts, Saturday, August 24th, only on Channel 3. Jason Campbell, who went 6 for 7 last Thursday night against the Rams for 37 yards. He's in the Browns huddle as their next up cornerback. They lead 17-3, and they'll start the drive from their own 22-yard line. Obadiah will be the running back for Campbell.
Got that press cover. Let's see him throw a takeoff on the first play.
First down, it's a straight give. It's Obadiah, and he hops out and hurdles out to the 25-yard line for a 3-yard gain. Second down and 7.
You know, you're talking about the fades and the takeoffs. Detroit's been doing this consistently on first down. Jason Campbell being a veteran, I guarantee you he's got that feel for it, and at some point he's going to take advantage of that and get himself a throw down the field.
Brad Smelly checks into the game, second-year man out of Alabama. He's on a wing, and that's him in motion now, back into the backfield. Here's Campbell, first pass attempt of the night in a traffic jam. He's going to run out of there and get down, and he does. And he gets down back near the 24-yard line, and he'll lose about a yard on the play. Boy, that pocket got crowded all of a sudden. He got out of there and was looking for daylight.
Then they had the man coverage outside. We've talked about it a lot tonight. Detroit's front four does an excellent job of pressure, collapse in the pocket. Sometimes that's why you like the quicker throws. You could throw takeoffs and fades, even though they're deeper throws. You throw them quicker. When you try the 7-step drops, the defensive lines that with 4 guys could get that type of pressure, make it tough.
Oh, they were coming in, and it was Nick Fairley who came across on the right side, going around Rashard Butler, the left tackle.
To the quarterback. Detroit, number 98, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
But instead of third and long now, it becomes third down and about 3 for the Browns, out at the 28.5-yard line, just shy of the 29. Clock running, 3:15 left to go in the half. Brandon Weeden had a terrific first half. 8 for 12, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Jordan Cameron. Devon Best goes in motion. Third down for Jason Campbell, 3rd and 3. Looking, throwing, Greg Little on a slant, got it, and out to the 40-yard line and a first down as he gets dragged down to the play by Bill Bentley. It's an 11-yard gain.
There's the man coverage we're talking about. Again, much is made of how I talked about route running last week. Greg Little does a fantastic job here versus press coverage. Pressing the outside technique, getting into the defensive back's body, then acting like he's going to run outside to doing the takeoff, comes back underneath on that slant, they're making it a very easy pitch and catch to get the first down.
Dion Lewis into the game at running back. Lions almost jump again on the right side. They get back. Campbell, first down, stretch handoff. There's Lewis, and it's hard to find him, isn't it? In the pile, and I think it's hard for defenders too. And he squeaks out a nice gain out to the 44-yard line. He gets 4.
Not much of a hole there, but Jim, you're right. He does a good job of kind of staying low, getting behind his guard, and settling in there and trying to wait for a little crack.
2 minutes to go. We're at the 2-minute warning here at First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns, and it's been a real nice home for the Browns tonight. They lead over the Lions 17-3. Here we go. The Browns have it. 2nd down and 6 with 2 minutes to go in the half. They have 2 timeouts left and a 17-3 lead. Here's Campbell looking for a screen pass set up to Dion Lewis, and man, it is sniffed out by the Detroit Lions. The Lions are all over the play. Ashley Palmer comes out of the pack with the ball and starts running down the field like he picked it away from Lewis, but the play was dead. But boy, they blew that up big, and Jason Jones led the charge. A loss of 8, Bernie.
Yeah, blitz to the bottom of our screen to Jason Campbell's right, away from the screen. Detroit, though, in man coverage, they're locked down and sniff the screen out.
So it becomes 3rd down and 14 for Jason Campbell.
Maybe a situation where he may want to run it and keep the clock going, or
he's going to throw it, and he's going to throw it to Lewis, who's in open field. He's going to try and run and get that first down, and he fights his way up, and he might just come up a little bit short. Rob Chudzinski wanted a better spot as Lewis blasted away after he made the catch, knew he was going to get pounded. Tracy Lewis, a linebacker, took him on. It was a 13-yard gain.
Yeah, again, this is one of the things you're going to want to run it or have a nice conservative throw where you keep the clock running. Hitting the check down like that, it's an added bonus there to kind of get close to the first down marker. Now I think Coach Chud's going to let the clock wind down.
Play clock is at 9. He'll take it down. They have 2 timeouts left, and he'll call a timeout with 1 left to go on the play clock, and so they'll bang the timeout right now. And there will be 32 seconds left to go in the half, and it will be 4th down and less than 1 for the Browns, but they're on their own side of the field with 32 seconds to go in the half.
And these are situations in preseason where you may do something different. In the regular season with this type lead, you would punt the ball. Odds are we probably will here, but it's not a bad idea if you want to set a message sometimes, like we talked about last week, of trying it on 4th down just to set a mindset, a tempo, and to see what your team's capable of doing in these type of situations. They're going to come up a lot during the year, 4th and a yard, 4th and less than a yard, and you want your team to know they can make these plays.
Well, as you can see, he was talking to the linesman over by the Browns bench as we look at Jim Schwartz now, and he was, I think, complaining about the spot. He thought that forward progress should have gotten Lewis the first down, and now the Browns show punt, and the Lions call timeout. They did not have a return man back there. And the Lions will have 1 timeout left with 32 seconds remaining as Jim Schwartz will deploy a return man. It will be Michael Spurlock. He'll go back and return. There's Chris Tabor alongside Rob Chudzinski on the Browns bench.
I also think Coach Chud was taking his time, and Detroit needs to be careful here. Inside 2 minutes, everything's checked up upstairs in the replay booth. Also kind of giving the replay guys upstairs a chance to kind of look at the play a little more. The spot probably wasn't the spot you're thinking of getting, because the way he fell over, he rolled in and actually did cross the 50-yard line before his knee hit the ground.
Spencer Lanning hangs it high. Spurlock's going to return it, and in the calls of late fair catch at the 11-yard line near the 12, out by the 13. There's a fight in the middle of the field as Willie Young got involved with one of the Browns, and it was Quentin Groves, the Browns linebacker, and that was way upfield near midfield, and the flag went down there. Willie Young got involved with the Browns linebacker, and there's the Browns linebacker, Quentin Groves, who got a penalty last week, and there's Willie Young. And he's going to get an earful, I think, from Jim Schwartz if the penalty goes against Detroit. So they talk about it out by midfield. Here comes the call.
You have 2 fouls on the play. You have holding, receiving team, number 79.
That's
that
Willie
penalty
Young.
is declined. You have personal foul, number 79.
That's Willie Young.
That penalty will be accepted half the distance from the end of the kick.
That's
First
the daily
down,
double.
Detroit.
And Quentin Groves was the guy that Willie Young got involved in, and he applauds both penalties and the one they accepted.
Yeah, typically the second
Yes.
guy gets caught. Quentin Groves, I don't think was blameless there, but I think he helped instigate something, and typical of sometimes the way that happens. The second guy's the one who gets caught.
All right, here's what they're going to do. They're going to take a knee as they're going to drop a receiver back in the end zone. Sean Hill is in a quarterback, and he'll have 2 running backs around him, and he'll take a knee, and that is going to do it here in the first half as both teams will head to the locker room. The Browns head there with a nice lead, 17-3, but with injury concerns as they lost Jason Pinkston. He went out with either a knee or an ankle injury. Barkevius Mingo went out with a rib. Gary Barnage went out with a shoulder. So though they went ahead 17-3 at halftime, I'm sure they're concerned about what's coming out of the trainer's room, don't you think?
Again, Jim, I think you hit it right on the head. Fantastically played first half for the Browns, but those injuries are an issue.
Let's go down to the sideline, brought to you by Jeep. Here's Dave Chudowski with head coach Rob Chudzinski.
All right, Jim, thank you, Coach. You said heading into this game you wanted to make progress and keep building that identity. Have you done that after one half?
Yeah, I feel good with what the guys have done out here in the first half. The defense has come out and played great the first half, and we've got some things done on offense as well.
Coach, Whedon to Cameron, everyone at home really excited. Are you licking your chops after watching that?
Well, we got a long ways to go, but you know, those guys are starting to get a little bit of a chemistry together, which is good.
How about Trent Richardson? What'd you think of his performance in the first half?
It was good to get him out here. He took a couple hits and delivered a couple as well, and just to get some game action will help him down the road.
Coach, thanks.
Thanks.
See you in the second half. All right, Jim, back up to you in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. Halftime here, Wiener Dog races will take center stage on the field. And the halftime show is coming up next. The Browns lead over the Lions 17-3 at the half. We'll be back. Welcome back, everybody, to First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns. And a look at the first half stats as the Browns just dominating in total yardage, 204-87, and dominating on the scoreboard. They lead over the Lions 17-3. Brandon Whedon was exceptional in the first half. The Browns' defense was exceptional. Trent Richardson played, survived a high hit from Ndamukong Suh on a run, but he stayed right in there, and he had a big 17-yard run after that. And Whedon to Jordan Cameron, that was the magic combination.
Yeah, other than the injuries in the first half, that was a fantastic play by all the guys you just mentioned. To see things go that fluently, and Brandon Whedon, who we see on the sideline, has been able to not only make the completions, but his accuracy, his timing for being week 2 of the preseason has really been impeccable.
Sam Martin, who's been punting tonight, he'll kick off. And back deep for the Browns will be Dion Lewis as Lewis tries to stake his claim, not only as a change of pace running back with all of that speed in the Browns offense, but also as the kickoff return guy, as the Travis Benjamin will handle the punts, and he could do kickoffs, but Lewis would like to do them, but he'll get no chance on this one as it is pounded out of the end zone by Martin, and so the Browns will begin offensively after a touchback out at the 20-yard line, and Jason Campbell will start the second half. Now, Bernie touched on the injuries. Barkevius Mingo, the top draft choice, went out with a rib problem. Gary Barnage, the tight end, he went out with a shoulder problem, but it appears as though the worst injury came earlier in the game when starting guard Jason Pinkston went out with a right leg injury, and we do not know if that's an ankle or a knee. So here are the Browns out, 1st and 10 with Brandon Jackson as the running back for Campbell, and Brad Smelly in the game in motion at fullback. And on first down, here's Jackson, and he slams it right back to the line of scrimmage on the right side of the 20 for a no-gainer.
Detroit comes out again playing that base coverage with man press coverage. Again, I look for Jason Campbell to take advantage of that and get a throw up the field with that one-on-one outside. Again, Detroit's defensive line's doing a good job at the point of attack. We ran the ball, had a couple runs in the first half for nice yardage, but by and large, the pressure's been...
Oh, there's Josh Cooper wide open, and Campbell overthrows him at the 45-yard line. He was wide open and behind his defender, and he missed him.
Jason Campbell trying to throw a little touch on it. Really probably wanted to lead him more towards the outside, towards the sideline here.
3rd down and 10 coming up for the Browns, and they're at their own 20-yard line. Just started second half, and they lead the Lions 17-3. Campbell finished up right at the end of the first half for Brandon Whedon, who had a terrific second preseason game, just like a week ago against the Rams. Blitz coming, Campbell, pump fake, blitz coming off the corner, Campbell going to get nailed back at the 10-yard line on the sack. So they come in and they get him, and they nail him hard, as blowing through on that corner finally to bring him down was Daquan Menzie.
2 DBs blitzing on the bottom of your screen to Jason Campbell's left. Jason's blind side obviously doesn't see him until it's too late.
So Spencer Lanning is in to punt, and this will be a tricky punt because he's 5 yards deep in his own end zone. Michael Spurlock is back deep as he stands back at his 35-yard line. He's been handling most of the return game for the Lions here tonight. Christian Yount will be the snapper. Lanning takes it and drills it right down the middle of the field. Here's Spurlock with a flag down. Catches at the 41. Takes it to the sideline. And he'll curl the sideline and go dipsy-do into the Browns bench up by the 48-yard line on a 48-yard punt. But as I said, a flag was down early. Here's a, looks like holding. Here's the call.
During the kick. Receiving team, number 20, hold. That penalty will be enforced from the end of the kick. 1st down, Detroit.
And the Lions will get backed up. So the holding call goes against Detroit. Sean Hill, he's been around a long, long time, and we'll see him engineer the Lions offense when we come back. 13:39 to go. 3rd quarter, 17-3 Browns. Sean Hill is in at quarterback as he took a knee right at the end of the first half that ended the half when the Lions were backed up deep in their own territory. He's in his 12th year out of Maryland.
Yeah, and Sean Hill's had really a nice career. A lot of people talk about him as a backup. He's primarily been a backup, but when he's had a chance to start, he's been able to have some big games throwing the ball.
So they're in the pistol right now. He takes that pistol snap, dumps it over the middle. That's caught. Michael Williams, a rookie tight end out of Alabama, makes the catch out at the 35-yard line and a gain of 7, and it'll be 2nd down and 3. You see, Hill did not fool around with that one. He just pumped it right in there.
Yeah, again, I'm a big fan of Scott Linehan and his offensive system that they run in Detroit. This is being a preseason game. You can see he's playing it close to the vest, and this isn't the typical Detroit offense, but getting in formations like the pistol to kind of get the base packages in.
This is Matt Willis. Willis gets taken to the sideline and whipped into the Browns bench. That's Akeem Auguste, the defensive back, who throws him out of bounds, but he got a 1st down as he picked up about 4.5 out over the 40, near the 41-yard line. 1st down for the Lions.
We talked about this kind of quick pass off running plays last week. The Browns hit it one time. Matthew Stafford got baited by Gibson in the first half here. That's really a running play, but Sean Hill, the veteran quarterback, sees the off coverage and throws the ball out to the receiver for a one-on-one and sees if that receiver can make that DB make that tackle.
All right, nothing there for Mikel LaSure in his 3rd year out of Illinois. Ishmaeli Kitchen, Josh Aubrey, and Tank Carter come down the line and make the play. LaSure, in his rookie year, tore his Achilles tendon. Then he came back last year. He was suspended at the beginning of the year, but he ended up with 798 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. But it looks like Reggie Bush is going to be their main guy as LaSure goes out wide on 2nd down and 10 after a no gain on 1st down. Hill, shotgun. Blitz coming, throws. Trevin Wade gets around the corner on Michael Spurlock and knocks it away at the Browns' 45-yard line.
Nice defense. Think he may have had Heavyweight may have had a hand on him. Refs don't call it, therefore no penalty.
Yeah, I think he did. I think his left hand was on his back. They are 2 for 8 on third down, and the Lions now are at 3rd and 10 at their own 41-yard line. LaShore is in the backfield with Sean Hill. He's in a straight shotgun. And he's up in the pocket, and he's going to run. And that's a bad decision because he's in no man's land, and Quentin Groves brings him down at the 46-yard line. I mean, it looked good when he first went over the line of scrimmage, and then he went, uh-oh, I went too far. They'll punt.
Again, I don't want to get in trouble here, but he looked like me running there. That's not what you want to do on 3rd and 10. When you slow down 5 yards down the field, you're going to get that pressure from pursuit from guys from behind, a veteran quarterback like Sean Hill.
Blake Klingon, a rookie free agent. He's into punt. He's from Central Florida. And Naaman Roosevelt is back deep to return for the Browns out of the University of Buffalo. He'll call for a fair catch, and he'll make it at his own 17-yard line, and the Browns will have the ball. We'll take a timeout from First Energy Stadium. 11:08 left to go. Third quarter, and the Browns hold on to that 14-point lead. Time to take a look at the play of the game. Brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Get the most sports on any screen with Time Warner Cable Sports Pass. Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better. Boy, I tell you what, that's a good combination right there. Those two guys, Brandon Wheaton and Jordan Cameron, and they were in sync when they were in there together. 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes for Jordan Cameron. Had that one ball blast off his chest last week and bounce up in the air. Greg Little makes a nice play on it. Jordan Cameron's had a couple of nice catches tonight.
Jason Campbell's still in there at quarterback from his own 17, shotgun, throwing, caught. There's Travis Benjamin with that speed, and those defensive backs have to know that he's out there with that speed, so they got to give him a little room, and he carries it out for a 9-yard gain out over the 25 to the 26-yard line, and a nice 2nd and 1 coming up.
They definitely know Travis Benjamin's out there. The respect they just showed him, 12 yards off him on outside technique. That's Jason Campbell being a veteran like that. That's really stealing right there to be able to pitch and catch and get 9 yards like that. I love this 2nd and 1 opportunity. I would not be able to not throw the deep takeoff here.
But they're not. They run the ball and they run it right into the belly of Ziggy Ansah as he gets in there, and he gets some help in there from Ogemdi Nuagbo.
Great job with the name. I'm not even going to go down that path, but 2nd and 1 is a really nice opportunity. I don't want to say it's a waste down, but because you still got 3rd and 1 if the play fails, it's an opportunity to really take a chance. And when you have the press coverage like that outside, it's something that I like to take a gamble on.
Well, now they're 3rd and 3. They lost 2. Lewis will be the running back for Jason Campbell.
Get the press coverage again.
Well, they're showing all kinds of blitz.
He sees the blitz.
All the linebackers jumped right into those spaces.
I think we're going to see that fade or slant outside.
And there's a flag down and a false start on the Browns. They flinched.
Full start. Offense. 79.
Rashad Butler.
Repeat 3rd down.
Sometimes I'm not trying to cover for Mike Kane there, who's having a nice camp here with the Browns, but when you are going to audible like that, they tend to be in their stance too long. Sometimes linemen get impatient. You get the illegal procedure like that.
Well, how about this? They were 2nd and 1, and now they're 3rd and 8. And again, they run up in there. That's the linebacker Lewis out of Oklahoma coming after Campbell. Campbell steps up, rolls right, looking down the field, needs a block, runs, and gets down, and he drives it up near the 1st down, too. He got the 1st down out near the 28-yard line. You saw him pointing to get one more block, and he got an 8-yard gain.
This is a fantastic run, but with Jason Campbell being a veteran, wanting to make it to the regular season, I really love the competitiveness of it. I love the effort. Something like that, though, some of the injuries he's had in his career, you want to really be careful.
Well, he had that injury against the Browns when he was a Raiders quarterback on that kind of play. He'll throw on 1st down. He's going long. Benjamin's out there, and it's off his shoulder pad, incomplete. Down at the 35-yard line, broken up.
Again, I've been talking a lot about the press coverage outside. I like to throw these off of 5 steps here. This is a 7-step drop. That's why it gets a little late getting there and just a little underthrown.
Bill Bentley, who had a rough game last week against the New York Jets in their preseason opener, gets back on coverage there. 2nd down and 10. Here's Campbell on a give. And the Browns try that right side again, and they get up near the 29-yard line. Brandon Jackson on the carry for the Browns. Trent Richardson started the game. Dion Lewis has been in a lot of roles. And now Jackson gets in, and it will be 3rd down and 9. They just converted a 3rd down and 8 on a scramble by Campbell. 8:25 to go, 3rd quarter. Campbell at quarterback. Dion Lewis, the running back, in the shotgun. They have 2 back there with him in the shotgun.
Looks like a blitz to the top of the screen. Detroit checks out of it in the zone.
Campbell, nice pocket, throws, it's caught, but the pass is delivered short of the 1st down. Dion Lewis made the catch out at the 35-yard line, but Ashley Palmer was the first to hit him after a gain on the play of 6, and Lewis is not getting up very quickly. Oh boy, the Browns are really getting tagged with some injuries, and Lewis now goes back down. He's obviously in a lot of pain. We'll check him out on a night of injuries for the Browns. 7:52 left in the 3rd quarter. 17-3 Browns. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Tires that go the distance make Goodyear a fan favorite. Goodyear, more driven. A look down inside First Energy Stadium. Dion Lewis, left leg, could not put any weight on it as he was taken off the field. And the Browns are getting thin in a lot of positions now with injuries here tonight. Spencer Lanning is into the game to punt for the Browns as their drive stalls. Michael Spurlock is driven back deep. Over to his left, catches at the 11-yard line. Now he's got to make a miss, and Josh Cooper gets up there on the corner, and he gets over there with Mike Edwards, and Edwards makes the knockout into the Browns sideline. 54-yard punt by Lanning. Good job. 7:30 left in the 3rd quarter. We'll be back. The game from the best seats in the house, a new home theater from Wayside Furniture. And be sure to enter our best seats in the house contest with a grand prize of 8 load seats to a Browns game, plus 2 recliners or a sofa from Flex Steel. Wayside and Akron, better furniture, priced lower. 1st and 10 Lions at their own 16-yard line. New running back in the game, Joyce Bell out of Wayne State. Sean Hill at quarterback. 1st down, he's throwing, coming near side from Matt Willis. He dives down to the turf, makes the catch at the 25-yard line, and is immediately tagged down by Trevin Way. Dion Lewis is being carted off from the Browns sideline after he was injured there, and that's not a good sight. Yeah, I think the Browns have big plans for him in that backfield, Bernie.
He's had a fantastic camp, and just seeing the agony on his face there, I think, tells the story.
2nd down and 1. It was a 9-yard catch by Matt Willis. As Sean Hill's got 2nd and 1. He's got Johnson Botamosi creeping up from a safety spot. There he is, 24 on the gives. Here's Joyce Bell, and Bell slams it for a 1st down out to the 29-yard line, where he's brought down by L.J. Fort, the Browns linebacker. 1st and 10 for the Lions at their 29-yard line with 6:39 to go in the 3rd quarter.
Interesting, you saw 2nd and 1. I have still the same feelings about having an opportunity to take advantage down the field on a down where you have almost a free down play. Surprising, Sean Hill saw Botamosi step up in the 8th man in the box, pointed to him, and still ran the ball right at him. He sees it coming again off coverage outside. He's been throwing the quick outs.
1st and 10. Here's Bell with a cutback, and Botamosi's there, and he's got it. Botamosi got him over the 30 at the 33-yard line. Also in on the tackle, Quentin Groves, the Browns linebacker over from the Arizona Cardinals. Played for Ray Horton when he was there.
Again, seeing that 8th man come up, you see on the screen of Sean Hill pointing to him, knowing he's there, having off coverage like that. Typically a veteran quarterback's not going to want to do that stuff and run a play in where one to two guys are unblocked.
Here's a wide open field now, and Sean Hill runs it and then dives down on his belly over the 40 to the 42-yard line. There's a flag down, but he's got a 1st down after a gain of 9.
A little defensive holding there.
Looks like it's in the Browns secondary, and the Browns are pointing that it's on us. Detroit will probably decline and take the run by Hill.
Before the run, illegal contact. Defense, number 34. 5-yard penalty added to the end of the run.
They're going to add it.
First down, Detroit.
Akeem Auguste is the Browns defensive back who's flagged. And now the ball goes out to the 47-yard line of Detroit with 5:37 to go in the third quarter. And the Lions trying to come back from 14 down as Rob Chudzinski chats with that official over on the side. He's been chatting with him all night. All right, the Browns almost pop out of their stance defensively. So did the Lions. Hill to Bell, and he's dragged down from behind. Nice play. Justin Cole, the linebacker, who ended up saving that game last week when he came up with that interception on the Hail Mary pass, ends up making the play. Gain of about a yard out to the 48. Actually, if you go back to that play, Bernie, Cole actually lost his man off the line of scrimmage. And that was the guy who was, for a brief moment, open in the end zone. Cole saw it and got back and then intercepted the ball.
I'm chuckling. You're bringing me back to last week's game. I know the guy, he lost his jam at the line of scrimmage, actually had the opportunity, should have caught the ball, hit him in the numbers, and dropped it, and Cole was there to make the pick.
And the pass is complete to Michael Spurlock. Spurlock's inside Browns territory at the 45-yard line. Abdul Kane on the coverage and the tackle, and a gain of 7 for the Lions. So it's third down coming up.
Nice job of route running, getting into the DBs, getting into his body and coming back down the stem.
And Joint Bell will get the first down inside the Browns 40 to the 37-yard line. On the tackle for the Browns, L.J. Fort and Johnson Botomosi. But Detroit's got this drive going now down to the Browns' 37-yard line. As Bell ends up running, good for 8 yards. Bell is a running back out of Wayne State. While he was waiting to get a call from the NFL, he was a security guard. And had a lot of stops and tryouts with NFL teams, but he's made it with the Lions. Bootleg rollout. Here's Hill. Looking down the field, being chased, and he'll lob it into the sideline on the Lions side of the field. Big John Hughes and Ishmaeli Kitchen, and especially Kitchen, who played so well last week.
Yeah,
race sideline to sideline, don't they?
His athleticism, the way he made some of the physical contact last week, he was just in a nose tackle. Interestingly, the play before where Detroit ran the ball straight up the middle, right through the heart of the defense, had that big gainer. Kitchen was not in the play, was not in the game.
And he's not in now. Second down and 10 from the 37.
As soon as they made that nice run, Coach Cullen put him right back in.
Sean Hill, short drop, quick throw, catch is made at Willis, and he's dragged down by Abdul Kane over by the Browns sideline inside the Cleveland 35-yard line, where it will be third down after a gain of 3, and it will make it 3rd and 7.
Again, Sean Hill being a veteran quarterback, it's been a little inconsistent and maybe taking advantage of some of the opportunities he's had. But again, he sees the double-A gap. Both inside linebackers were blitzing, kept the running play on, but used the eye contact, and instead of running the ball into that mess, threw the ball outside. We got a blitz on the top of the screen.
Third down and 7.
Coming from the left. Oh, man coverage.
Here's Hill over the middle, and that's caught. Caught down the field by Terrence Austin, and he'll have a first down inside the Browns 25 to the 24, an 11-yard gain.
You see all the hesitation, pointing out by Sean Hill, the veteran quarterback.
Oh, we have a fan that got out on the field. And we'll not show you that, as they will take care of that. Security will get him off the field.
I'll definitely leave that alone.
So one of the Lions actually saw the fan come off the field, out of the stands, and he interrupted that, and then the security people moved in. And that will be the end of his evening.
He may not remember it because there was a lot of good contact right there. He took a few hits.
Well, it will be a first down for the Lions And the ball will be inside the Browns' 25-yard line near the 24.
Well, as I was saying before, the distraction there, you see Sean Hill, a veteran quarterback, doing a lot of pointing, directing at the line. He sees the blitz coming from his left, the top of our screen. Does an excellent job of seeing the coverage, pointing it, and very calmly, like Matthew Stafford did in the first half, just settles his feet, goes to the open receiver, hits him quickly and in rhythm to execute a perfect play and get the first down.
Here's Sean Hill, 1st and 10 from inside the Browns' 25, and it looked like he wanted to get a screen off, and he saw it wasn't there, so he just threw it into the ground, and it will be 2nd down and 10 as the Browns had that all blocked up and jammed up at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Browns have this red and covered. Sean Hill just getting rid of the ball.
2nd and 10 for Detroit at the 24-yard line of the Browns.
I'm actually giving him more credit there. I think the ball's actually slipped out of his hand. I was thinking he was just throwing it away because the play was covered. It looked almost accidental that it slipped out.
2nd down and 10. Here's Hill. Throws quickly, and the Browns cover that. L.J. Ford is all over that after the catch is made. Austin makes the catch. And it's at the 21-yard line of the Browns. Gain of 3, and it will be 3rd down and 7.
Yeah, Sean Hill, a little too quick on that read right there. They had a high-low on Ford with the circle in front of him, the check down, and then a 12-yard little square, and right behind him, he actually had the deeper guy wide open if he had held it just a split second longer.
All right, let's see what they do now. 3rd down and 7 at the Browns' 21-yard line. Hill has Joint Bell in the backfield with him. Hill gives it to Bell in the flat at the 20, at the 15, and he's up near a 1st down. He needed to get to the 14-yard line. Aubrey is in on the tackle for the Browns down inside the 15-yard line. James Michael Johnson is there too.
You see the two linebackers up and threatening the A-gap. Remember 2 plays ago the Browns blitzed from that look. There you could tell by the secondary behind them that they were disguising, bluffing. They were playing just base cover 3, and Sean Hill does a nice job getting to the check down.
All right, here's a great story. Hovar Rugland is in to attempt a 33-yard field goal. He is kickalicious from Oldgard, Norway, who posted a YouTube video of the trick kicks that he makes, and it attracted NFL teams, and he's in kicking for the Lions, and he makes a 33-yard field goal with 39 seconds left to go in the 3rd quarter. Timeout, 17-6, the Browns lead. All right, there he is. He's the sensation from Norway, Hovar Rugland. And this is the YouTube video, okay? Look at all the trick kicks. That kick goes into the boat. He actually punches that one through.
Well, even his technique on the one he made was unique to most kickers. It's actually pretty impressive, and how quick he gets it off.
And he's 3 for 3 as a Detroit Lion. He was good from 50 and 49 last week, and he was so excited after he made his first one that he forgot that he had to kick off. This is Johnson Botamosi from over the goal line, and a nice cutback, and Botamosi. And another cutback, and he'll bring it out near the 30-yard line. What an adventure that was. Theo Riddick, the rookie from Notre Dame, a running back, is down there, and he helps out as he finally brings him down, along with Myron Lewis. And it's 1st and 10 out at the 30-yard line. Now, David Akers is probably going to win their kicking job. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler, but the Browns actually interviewed and talked to Rugland back like in May because he was making his tour of the NFL.
Well, there's probably going to be an opportunity with him and or Akers, depending on salary cap here. Carpenter down in Miami was released the other day. That's somebody that's...
nice move by Brandon Jackson to get away and get a 1st down out near the 48-yard line of the Browns. Campbell to Jackson, and with that little quick move he made, he got 18 yards. So what you're saying is that He's got a powerful enough leg that somebody in some camp is going to
take him, just like Carpenter down from the Dolphins. They're going to be on people's short list if issues come up.
All right, that's the end of the third quarter here at First Energy Stadium, the home of the Browns. We'll go to the fourth quarter, and the Browns lead by 11. It's 17-6 Cleveland. Before we begin tonight's fourth quarter, let's go down to the Browns sideline. Dave Chudowski has this report brought to you by Jeep.
Jim, Dion Lewis is out for the rest of the game. He has a left ankle injury. He was carted off the field. As you mentioned earlier, he couldn't put any weight on his left leg, and when I watched him on the cart, he was in some serious pain. Jim, back to you.
All right, thanks, Dave. 17-6, the Browns lead by 11. And Jason Campbell will stay in at quarterback. 1st and 10, and the Browns have it at their own 48-yard line. Campbell on a give. Brandon Jackson to the near side to the 50, and he stopped at midfield. Corey Greenwood, former Kansas City Chief, terrific player out of Canada, went to Concordia, and he was the 3rd overall choice in the CFL draft, but he decided he wanted to play in the NFL, and he had some years with Kansas City, and now he's trying to hook on here. He's a great special teams player. 2nd down and 8.
Get the man coverage outside.
Campbell throws. That's caught. That's Dominique Kroom. And Kroom will be just shy of a 1st down, even though he stretched the ball out and had the 1st down by where he placed the ball. The official rules him about a half-yard back.
Again, we talk a lot about the press coverage, outside man coverage, single covers out there. We've been throwing a few fades today. That really helps open up that 10, 12-yard stop route, little mini comeback. And if you run it right like that and you come back down, I say down the stem, coming back down towards the quarterback, it's incredibly challenging for a defensive back to stop that.
3rd and less than 1. Campbell's got Marisic as a fullback in the game, and the Browns jump off. Gilkey, the left guard move. The Lions were moving too, but they're going to call it on Gilkey, 65.
Full start. Offense. Number 65. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Well, instead of 3rd down and less than 1 now, they'll have it 3rd down and near 6. There was a lot of movement by the Lions, and that got Gilkey to flinch and move, and that cost them the 5 yards. 3rd down and about 6 now. Campbell in the game, throwing the ball, is 7 for 9 for 58 yards.
Needless to say, when you have 3rd and short like that, coaches hate seeing the jump offside, taking it out of the 3rd and short, making it 3rd and 6.
Campbell, near side, caught. Josh Cooper's got it, and I believe he's got a 1st down, and he does.
This is the same blitz St. Louis used a couple times against us last week. Detroit's used it a couple times today. You see both backers blitzing in the A-gap. Our offensive line, both last week and this week, handling the blitzes and being stout up front to give a perfect pocket like that, to have 6 guys blitzing, 3 of which are inside the center box, guard box. It makes it really easy for a quarterback.
1st and 10. Campbell play action fake, throwing for Kellen Davis, and he's wrestling for the ball, and he's got it. And a 1st down to the Lion 26-yard line. Kellen Davis, the former Chicago Bear, a 13-yard gain.
Nice timing here by Jason Campbell on the throw. Again, nice protection in the middle of the pocket.
So Campbell brings the Browns out. 1st and 10 now.
Good example for young receivers out there, the way he uses his hands to go get the ball at its highest point.
Not much there on the run by Brandon Jackson, and it was Corey Greenwood who hit him first, the linebacker. Gets him down near the 25.5-yard line. 2nd down and about 9.
You know, a lot of good coaching points, talk about for young kids out there, young players, going, reaching, using your hands to go get it, stout in the middle of the pocket like we were talking in pass protection. I've been having fun around town. I went to the Solon St. Ignatius scrimmage the other day. Went and saw Coach Dowd out at Gilmore. There's a lot of good high school football being played in our town.
2nd down and long. 2nd and 9 with Smelly in motion. Campbell to throw. Pulls it down. Reloads again. Got it out. Brandon Jackson. 2 good moves. And he's inside the 20. They'll give him forward progress near the 19-yard line before they put him down. I'm thinking right now after a 7-yard gain, with Hardesty out now after having arthroscopic knee surgery. And you worry about Dion Lewis with an ankle injury. The Browns become not only thin on that offensive line, as it with the Pinkston injury tonight earlier, but now with those injuries to those running backs, they're thin there.
Ironically, both positions, the guard and the backup running back spot, has been something we thought we were going to have depth in the competition. To your point, I absolutely concur. Now that's a position of that. With these injuries, hopefully they're not significant where it's a long point of time.
Timeout,
but
Cleveland.
This could be a serious
timeout of the second
issue.
All right, timeout by the Browns as Jason Campbell did not like something that was up at the line of scrimmage, and he was running out of play clock time too. We'll take a timeout with the Browns. 10:51 left to go in the ballgame. It's the replay of the game brought to you by PNC Bank, the official bank of the Cleveland Browns. Josh Gordon from Brandon Wheaton. Just dropped it right in there, Bernie.
Did we pick this play out because I've been talking about the fade so much? Textbook way to throw it. Nice today that we've had a lot of choices to pick from for the play of the game. Not a nice big plays in the passing game.
Inside the 20 at the 19. Campbell on third down. Throws. Nice catch by Cooper. And he spins down inside the 15-yard line down near the 11. Josh Cooper out of Oklahoma State. A 7-yard gain and a first down for the Browns. They'll put him down at the 12.
You know, a lot of competition for those last spot or two, especially at the receiver spot in the slot position. Devon Best is the much publicized trade from Miami. Josh Cooper's really helping himself out tonight.
First and 10 from the 12. Straight handoff. And Brandon Jackson got swallowed up as the Lions broke through there. Andre Fluellen is in there on the tackle, and he is helped out on the play by Tahir Whitehead. There he is, the linebacker, second year out of Temple. Nothing there, nothing doing at all. 10th play of the drive.
Not what you want to see from an offensive line surge standpoint. Detroit won the battle at the line of scrimmage there, pushed us.
Is out with an injury, not playing tonight. Kellen Davis down the line in motion, second and 12. Campbell back, looking, throwing. Jackson's got it, juggles to the 5, to the end zone. Touchdown, Brandon Jackson. 14-yard touchdown pass, and the Browns open up a 23-6 lead.
He ends up double catching it. Got a little too excited. Detroit lost their lanes and lost their discipline within the zone coverage. Well-conceived play by Coach Turner. Brandon Jackson does catch it the second time around. And then look how quick that speed just turns on the jets, hits that seam and gets in the end zone.
All right, Shane Graham is going to attempt this extra point. So Bogatay had kicked all night long, but Graham is going to attempt the extra point, and the kick is good. The Browns have been inside the Detroit red zone 3 times tonight, and all 3 times they have scored touchdowns. So with 9:29 to go in the ball game, the Browns lead over the Lions by a score of 24-6. Here's a look at tonight's quarterback stats. They're brought to you by First Energy, proud to be your hometown team. So Brandon Wheaton, that's what he did, 8 for 12, Bernie, 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jason Campbell, 12 for 14, much like his numbers last week, over 100 yards and 1 touchdown.
Well, just as a team there, 20 for 26, 223 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I'd say it's a pretty good implementation of the new system right here.
Shane Graham to kick it off. The Browns leading 24-6. Rookie running back Stephen Miller is going to catch it right on his right shoulder pad and circle and come out. He's got the 10. Boy, one of the Browns was grabbed, and this is going to come back as Stephen Miller will be taken into the Browns sideline. But one of the Browns players was just grabbed down the field. Justin Cole, the linebacker, he got grabbed from the back, and I think the Lions are going to get nailed on that.
Yeah, very obvious hold right there, and right at the point of attack where he cracked through. So these are the type of calls you need to really make and have go your way.
All right, so our referee, Wayne Mackey, sorting out the call. Here it comes.
We have 2 fouls on the play. Holding on the receiving team, number 16. That penalty is declined. Holding, number 89 on the receiving team. That penalty will be accepted. Half the distance to the goal. First down, Detroit.
All right, so there you go. So the rookie Michael Williams, the penalty is accepted on him, and he's probably saying, why'd you pick on me? Why didn't you take the one that was called on Austin, the wide receiver? 9:22 left to go in the game. The Lions are deep in their own territory where we come back. Tonight's hit of the game brought to you by Liberty Ford. A new Ford brings a new adventure. Liberty makes it happen. Jabal Sheard makes it happen right there on Reggie Bush. Sheard played a nice game, didn't he?
Yeah, he's had a fantastic camp, and much has been said in the offseason about his ability to make the transition to an outside linebacker. I say he's doing a fantastic job so far.
Well, I used to love watching this guy play quarterback at Boise State. Kellen Moore gives to Theo Riddick, the rookie running back from Notre Dame, and Billy Wynn's got him in a bear hug, and the play will be blown dead at the 10-yard line. I mean, I used to love watching those Boise State games at about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning on that blue field. Their big games against Nevada when they lost and their winning streak came to an end, and their opportunity to go to the BCS Bowl. And all this kid did was win, didn't he?
He had a fantastic college career.
He went past Colt McCoy, didn't he, in total wins?
Well, they've had some historic games. The Fiesta Bowl, I remember watching them against Oklahoma. It's one of the more exciting games.
Well, he's in trouble right now, but he gets out of it with a flag down, and then he goes down with Ishmaeli Kitchen bringing him down at the 10-yard line. Now, by the looks of John Hughes' jersey, which is jersey number 93 of the Browns, it looks like he got held, and I think he did. But Moore went down at the 10-yard line, so the Browns have a decision. Do you want to take the penalty? And I think they're going to decline it. I thought I just saw the bench say no. There's John Hughes out of the University of Cincinnati.
Holding, number 75. Offense. That penalty's declined. Third down.
That's on Larry Warford. And the Browns decline that penalty. And it will now become third down, 3rd and 6.
Watching Kellen Moore in college and the ability he had to make plays and win was incredibly impressive. I remember doing a preseason game last year.
Right.
Watching, he made plays and he had a result-oriented with it. His arm strength is something that really needs to be in question right now.
Oh, the Browns are coming at him, and Moore delivers near side, almost threw it right into the body of Auguste of the Browns as he tried to get it to Durham, his wide receiver, out of the 20-yard line. And the Browns are going to end up with good field position as the Lions will punt from their own end zone.
See, that little move he did right there, just that couple little steps to his left, having that sense of understanding of where the blitz is coming, he bought himself that extra second to slip away to allow himself the time to throw that comeback. I know he wants that throwback because he was off base with his accuracy by a good yard or two.
This is Blake Klingon, and he hangs one way high in the air. Mike Edwards calls for a fair catch, and falling backwards back into his own end of the field, he'll make the catch at the 46-yard line. That was a 43-yard moonshot. I mean, it was way up high. 8:15 left to go in the game. Browns offense is coming back out when we return.
Telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Well, here comes Brian Hoyer into the game. Last week he threw a touchdown pass to Cordell Roberson, and he was 10 for 14 for 100 yards and with that one touchdown. And now he's 1st and 10, and he's got it at the 46-yard line. First down, they give it to Miguel Masonette. They're running back from Stony Brook, and he'll get a couple just short of the 49-yard line. And he's brought down there with 8:05 to go in the game.
I think, like I mentioned earlier, I went down to the Solon Ignatius scrimmage the other day.
I thought that was the Solon St. Ed scrimmage that you were going to.
Well, St. Ed's, we talked last week. St. Ed's had an inter-squad scrimmage on Saturday, but Coach Kyle, I think, would be proud to see his quarterback here.
Yeah. 2nd down and 8. Hoyer's going to throw. Deep drop. Pressure coming. He got out of a sack. There's a flag down. Might be a holding call on the Browns as he floats the ball into the Browns sideline. I think the Browns held.
Holding 64, offense. 10-yard penalty, replay second down.
Martin Wallace is flagged for the penalty.
See, look, this is outstanding here for a quarterback. Look at the presence, just to feel that coming. He steps up that 1.5 feet just to avoid death right there, because that would be painful if he stayed at his plant. And that sixth sense of understanding or being able to feel that pressure without having to see it, it's really an innate, awesome ability to have for a quarterback. And again, talking to Coach Kyle's going to be very proud of him.
Second down and long, second down and about 16. Hoyer, shotgun, and with time, he throws, got a man wide open. That's the guy he threw the touchdown pass last week, Roberson, and he sneaks through the sideline and gets a first down out of a big second and long down to the Lion 42-yard line on a gain of 22.
Good. What got me in trouble talking about routes last week and the comebacks and pressing the technique. Look at again how perfect that is. Come back down the stem, back to the ball. Brian Hoyer with a beautiful throw on that.
You know, I like Roberson on the other end of that, too. I think he's done well.
I talked with Brian after the game, and Roberson had a fantastic camp so far. He's been doing better on the outside routes than he has some of the stuff over the middle.
Hoyer buys himself time, throws for Torrey Gurley, and it was knocked away. Nice play there, getting in there to break it up is Myron Lewis. Incidentally, Bernie, an update, another injury as we look at replay here, and you'll see Gurley had the ball knocked away by Myron Lewis out of his hands. Brandon Bogate, the Browns' young kicker, left the game and into the Browns locker room with a groin strain.
You know, Coach Chud said he probably was going to play the whole game. I wondered when we saw Shane Graham that probably something had to materialize. Blitz from the bottom of the screen.
Second and 10, that's Masonette, and he'll get a tough couple of yards, 2 yards, down to the 40. Now that will make it third down and 8 coming up for the Browns from the Lion 40 now with 6:43 left in the game. The Browns, this is their last home preseason game. 2 on the road at Indianapolis a week from Saturday, and then a short turnaround a couple of days later. They'll be in Chicago to win the preseason against the Bears, and then here for the opening game, September 8th against Miami. Hoyer on 3rd and 8. Nice pocket down the middle for Mike Edwards, but there were 2 Lions right there, and it's incomplete. On the coverage, Martavius Nellis.
They're 2 deep, 5 under man coverage. Tough route right there. When you're the receiver, that slot receiver running it, you don't really want to get yourself pushed over to the other side of the field, which brings in the opposite side safety into the play.
Spencer Lanning has been punting all night long for the Browns. TJ Conley is out with a groin strain. Lanning. This is Stephen Miller, rookie running back. He's going to let it go, and it hit at the 5 and rolls into the end zone as Mike Edwards was down there, along with Josh Aubrey as they were trying to get down there and pin the Lions in. But it's a touchback, and the ball will come out to the 20. Tonight's Rookie Watch brought to you by your Cleveland, Akron area Lexus dealers who invite you to test drive a Lexus today. Roberson with 1 catch for 19 yards, and Barkevius Mingo left with a sore rib in the second quarter, so we really didn't get a chance to see him after a real glowing performance last week in his first game.
Again, we mentioned earlier, the Browns started the most rookies last year. We're obviously counting on some rookies this year. Finding out what happened to Mingo and his ribs will be interesting, and let's all be very hopeful it's nothing significant that keeps him out for an extended period of time.
Theo Riddick out of Notre Dame on the carry. And the Browns get over there. Tommy Smith was in on the tackle for the Browns. Also in there was Kendrick Adams and Dave Kruger, who is the brother of Paul Kruger, and a defensive lineman trying to make it. Here's a free agent with the Browns. He played at Utah, was a captain of the team there his final year. Kellen Moore in the pistol. He's got Riddick open in the flat. He catches at the 20. And Auguste got a piece of him, but he falls forward up to the 29-yard line. He's a yard shy of the first down on a 6-yard catch and run by Theo Riddick. And that's a Browns draft choice right there, Armani Bryant chasing it down.
We saw this play earlier in the game to Reggie Bush. where he got outside the coverage. He got leverage outside and was able to turn it up. Make both plays though. Ended up making nice runs, nice positive plays.
Kellen Moore, second series for him. 1st and 10 Lions from their own 30-yard line. Their left tackle moved, and 5 yards will be marked off against him.
Full start.
That's going to be
offense. 73. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Derek Hardman commits the penalty, 5 yards back, and it will be first down and 15. Bernie, I mentioned that the opening game against Miami is right here at Brown Stadium, and that's been a bugaboo for the Browns trying to win the opening game. They've only done it once since they've come back. You're down there. Are the Dolphins for real? Everybody's talking about them.
The Dolphins kind of moved all in and made a lot of moves in free agency this year. It's kind of a make or break year for some of the guys within the organization. So they have a talented team on paper. Can they gel together quickly? I hope they start gelling after week 1.
That was Kent Richardson, the Browns safety, coming up and smothering Riddick on that pass out into the flat. And it will now become second down at 19. Clock runs, 4.5 to go. And they're back at their 21-yard line. Moore will backpedal, and he'll go into a shotgun with Riddick on his right.
Soft coverage.
Going to go down the sideline, Riddick, and Canna gets back there and knocks it away and breaks up the pass. Good job as they try to get it there to the rookie wide receiver, Corey Fuller. Not the Corey Fuller that was the defensive back here. This is a young guy.
Yeah, last week our safeties at the end of the game had a lot of trouble in that fourth quarter in their deep zone responsibilities. That's a too deep coverage there. That against that soft coverage, you need to get over in double coverage like that and not make it as clean. Nice job by the corner sinking back and making a play, but it shouldn't even be that close.
Abdul Canna makes the play. Third down and long. And here's Kellen Moore up in the pocket and then dumps it off down the middle over the 30-yard line. And the play is made by Tommy Smith, the Browns linebacker. So Theo Riddick got it over the middle and runs it for 10 yards, but they needed much more than that. And it's fourth down, and the Lions will punt.
Again, for the young defensive players out here, watch, this is tackle. This is perfect form tackling.
Nice job by Tommy Smith. Into punt Klingon. Back deep Mike Edwards for the Browns. He had a fair catch this last time. He's a wide receiver. Ooh, the Browns almost got in there and blocked that. Justin Cole almost got a piece of that. And Mike Edwards makes a tricky fair catch with a lot of Lions and a few Browns buzzing around him. That was only a 29-yard punt, which was almost blocked by Justin Cole. So Brian Hoyer gets instructions from the sideline, and he will be back in for his second series. We'll take a look at the quarterback stats right now, brought to you by First Energy, proud to be your home team. Now we can put all three up because Brian's been in the game and he's 1 for 3. Boy, Brandon Wheaton's got to be feeling good. The Browns have really got to be happy with what they've seen in the Rams game, and I thought it was even better tonight.
Yeah, Brandon Wheaton, not only was he efficient last week, and he was efficient again this week, he was also making significant plays down the field. His accuracy, the seam throws, the kind of the bigger type plays that we've been talking about wanting to see within this system. Not only did he execute them, he threw the ball on time and accurate. It was really, really impressive to see that tonight.
Tackle made by Ronell Lewis as he wraps up Tiny McGill Masonette. And it is second down and 10, no gain as we come up to 3 minutes to go in the game. Now, there'll be a lot of talk about what went right here tonight. And really about the only thing that went wrong is they got dinged up with a lot of injuries. And we'll check on the conditions of those players and their availability as soon as we can after the game. Brian Hoyer brings Smelly in motion. Masonette with a cutback, and he runs right into 2 Lions, and leading the way was Ronell Lewis. Now the Lions say that Masonette fumbled and that they recovered. And let's see.
Ruled down by
and
contact.
The player down by contact. Boy, I'll say there was contact. Oof. Ronell Lewis with back-to-back big plays. He's fallen out of a little favor in Detroit, trying to fight his way back in there and become a part of a very talented defensive line. I mean, they are good.
There's a lot of depth on that line. I think we'll just let it run down to the 2-minute warning.
And that's what the Browns will do. They'll have it 3rd and 11 when we come back. 2 minutes to go in the ball game. And the Browns in control, ready to go to 2-0 as they are besting the Lions tonight, 24-6. Everything we've learned making tires that go the distance inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven, and we've had beautiful views tonight on a great night. And Bernie, tell us about the great work you're doing with the Bernie Kosar Foundation.
Well, thanks to my foundation and continuing education, working with youth, and some of the concussion issues that have gone on. The Bernie Kosar Foundation, Scott and Umberto Fideli's been helping me out with Play It Forward, and the health and wellness has been something that's been really important for me, and working in and around our community. You've heard me talk about all the high schools that we've been visiting and working with some of the kids, and looking forward to implementing this program over the next couple weeks.
Well, it was a messed up handoff there between Brian Hoyer and Miguel Masonette. And Hoyer held onto the ball and fell down to the ground. And now with 1:52 left, the Browns are going to punt the ball away. Well, good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
Terrific.
There's been some great people within Cleveland. Tim Highlands has been helping me out with meeting our area and really trying to get it in effect, because there's been so much talk about concussions and should you let your kids play or not play as youth, with injuries, like some of the things that I've had to go through with the anti-inflammatories and how you handle your situation, and obesity is a big issue within our country. There's a direct correlation to hydration and dehydration and getting concussions. So making kids aware and making adults aware that there's some things you could do to actually help minimize the risks.
Stephen Miller made the catch, and Torrey Gurley was right on him and made the tackle after a 45-yard punt by Spencer Lanning. Nice play by Gurley, the wide receiver of the Browns. And now with 1:43 left to go, the ball goes back over to the Lions. And I believe we're going to see our former buddy Thaddeus Lewis come in at quarterback for the Detroit Lions. When last we met Thaddeus, he was the starting quarterback for the Browns on the final game of the regular season last year in Pittsburgh, and he played pretty well.
He played extremely well. For not practicing, for not playing much, for not having much experience, he played phenomenal in Pittsburgh last year at Heinz Field, and a little surprised that he's fourth string here. I think he showed himself well enough to show he deserves an opportunity to be a part of an NFL team, and obviously here being the fourth-string quarterback, he's going to probably be fighting it out for the third spot with Kellen Moore.
He completed one to Stephen Miller. He completes this one to Fourier. That's Joseph Fourier, the tight end, rookie free agent from UCLA, and he makes the catch right there, and a gain of 10 and a first down. Lewis last year as a Brown in the first preseason game of the year up in Detroit rallied the Browns to win that game.
Yeah, he did that a lot with his legs. This is going to be a situation where he's going to be able to have a good positive experience. The Browns are obviously won this game, playing very soft zone coverage, so he's going to pad his stats very nicely here and be able to make some plays.
He's going to stop the clock right now with 51 seconds left, and the ball goes inside the 50 to the 49-yard line. And we'll take a look at that game last year. Thaddeus Lewis wearing the number 9 and rallying the Browns down the field. The pass to Gronkowski there, and then he did a little bit with his legs too as he made some great plays. And that's what he did in Pittsburgh to keep things going on that last game. And the Browns were way behind in the game. They were behind in the ball game, and he rallied them back, and they ended up winning it. They got an interception late in the ball game from David Sims that preserved the win. Thaddeus out of Duke, just a wonderful guy.
Yeah, I followed him from his high school career down in North Miami. He's been a winner. He's been a winner and a playmaker his whole life.
1st and 10 now at the Browns' 49.5-yard line. Thaddeus Lewis out of the shotgun. Pressure coming, and Armani Bryant will get a sack as he gets in there. How about that?
Yeah, excellent technique and swim move.
So now with 39 seconds left to go.
He leaves you off to the left guard for Detroit. Feet look like in concrete, runs right by him.
Boy, he really does look like a good, fast defensive line, but Lewis uncorks one near side, and that's caught. That's Cody Wilson from Central Michigan, and he brings it up to the 48-yard line. Now with 23 seconds left, Lewis is just getting the plays and firing that football.
Again, the Browns are playing off deep coverage. Probably got an earful from Coach Horton last week, this group, who allowed some big plays in the prevent defense type mode at the end of the Rams game. They're not letting guys get behind them right now.
23 seconds to go. Thaddeus Lewis firing in space and almost picked off. Auguste almost ended up with an interception, as he got right in there on the tight end Fourier and jumped it right inside and almost came away with an interception.
Again, this is for the young receivers out there, and we were actually talking about this out of Kilmore, Coach Dodd this week. Come back to the ball. Come back. Now, Thaddeus Lewis looked down his receiver a little bit, but when you drift away from the ball and don't come back towards the quarterback, you allow the defensive guy to cut in front of you like that.
Fourth down, they need about 13. Lewis, he may have to run for it. Now he's going to throw. He's got a man open, but he missed him. It's Fourier at the 30-yard line, and the ball will go over to the Browns to take a knee and end the night with 13 seconds left to go.
Well, how appropriate here. We'll get ready. I got to give a shout out.
Yes,
Jim, since we're going to our post-game show, Jack from J3, who's doing my clothes to make me look good. I gotta thank him, because I wouldn't have the nerve to be able to match a suit like this.
boy, I'll tell you, you're looking very, very good tonight. Went with the orange tie off the white shirt.
Cleveland
way.
Browns colors.
All the way. Brian Hoyer takes a knee, and the clock will run out here at First Energy Stadium, and the Browns, after winning last week against the St. Louis Rams, they win here tonight as they knock off the Detroit Lions. 24-6 is the final score. Rob Chudzinski out to the middle of the field, met Jim Schwartz, and now will take care of matters with all of those injuries that the Browns had. Trent Richardson got in the game. He played well. He took hits. He took a big hit from Ndamukong Suh. Matthew Stafford, Brandon Whedon meeting out at the middle of the field. And a good night for the Browns, especially offensively. And boy, I thought their defense, when it really mattered, when Matthew Stafford and the number one offense minus Calvin Johnson, now we got to point that out, but with their number one offense in there, that defense was very good tonight.
Again, Jim, I couldn't agree with you more. From an actual execution standpoint, I don't think you could ask for any more. That being said, it's going to be an interesting next probably 24 hours to get the reports and the MRIs and the X-rays on the various injuries, because there's been a lot of them the last week now, and especially tonight again.
So the final score, the Browns win it over the Detroit Lions 24-6. We're back with the postgame show right after this timeout from First Energy Stadium.